Well, here we go again, folks. Another massive storm system is set to affect the lower 48 as we get on into next week, bringing with it all kinds of weather hazards once again. Blizzard conditions, severe weather, potentially tornadoes, and a large area of high winds yet again for many, many people. So we're going to take a look at the details of that system in just a minute and tell you what we know, what we don't know, what we need to look out for as we go through the next several days, and who might be affected and what the timing of all of this looks like. But before we do that, I'm launching a new segment called the 2-minute drill, where we're going to take a look at the current weather and then the weather over the next couple of days. So if you don't have time to watch the entire video, you'll at least be up to speed on what to expect as you walk out the door in the morning and start off your work week. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and start with our satellite picture, and you can see the thing that jumps off the page right away is this comma shape down here over Texas and Louisiana. This is an area of low pressure that's been bringing some showers and thunderstorms to portions of the south. You've got showers in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way over to Georgia, South Carolina, and into Florida, where the heaviest activity is expected in Florida today. There's a marginal risk of severe weather in here, but we don't see a major outbreak or anything like that. We've only seen one storm report today with some trees and power lines down in the Florida Panhandle. So not expecting anything severe here, but over the next couple of days, you could see 1 to 2 inches of rain in portions of Georgia and South Carolina, maybe some light rain in North Carolina. You've got another system that's set to swing in through the northeast. There's some high clouds associated with that. Going to see a few snow showers tomorrow, particularly around Maine. And then you've got an active jet out in the Pacific, bringing high clouds and some precipitation up here in the Pacific Northwest. And you can see that reflected on the radar. So we can see the activity off the coast. It's moving into near Seattle up here in Victoria. In the Puget Sound, you're seeing in the higher elevations some snow showers. If we take a look over here at the Great Lakes, you're looking at that little clipper system that's moving through, bringing some snow up here in Canada. And that's going to swing through tomorrow, bring some snow activity, snow shower activity over into Maine. Down here is kind of where the big show is today. You've got those areas of low pressure, a stationary front here, focus around the Florida panhandles where we're seeing the heaviest rain today. This will get its act together a little bit better tomorrow, be more organized and bring more organized rain to Georgia and South Carolina. And as I said, maybe some showers to North Carolina. So that's what's going on your radar loop. The temperatures out there today, very mild across much of the United States. Cool in the Rockies, cool up near the lakes, and cool up in the Northeast where it's below freezing. But everybody else is in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, even some 70s down here in Florida. So a very mild day. Most of the country is having nice weather. It's very nice out there. It feels like spring. We've got spring fever. Hope you're enjoying the nice day that is on tap today, and tomorrow is going to be nice as well. You've got this area of low pressure tomorrow. If we look at our surface map, our Atari map here, that's getting organized. That's going to that's out here today. This is today's map, by the way, and so this is showing you this area of thunderstorms and shower activity here, potentially some light snows we get into tonight and tomorrow, and then some mixed precipitation and rain up here in the Pacific Northwest. And if we take a look at tomorrow, got a little stationary front up here north of the border. Going to see a few waves of low pressure along that, a couple clippers that'll move through and bring some snow showers up to and light rain showers up in the northern portions of the country. This low gets its act together a little bit more, so some general thunderstorm activity across the south into Florida, and then into North Carolina, potentially some light rain showers. And another system is about to move on to the southeast coast, and you can kind of see that lurking way out here off of the southwest coast, I meant to say, and that's going to pop on shore and be an important weather maker as we get into the middle of the week. And I'll explain why that is in a minute. But here you can see it. It's kind of moving closer to the coast out here at the Baja, the Southern California area, the desert Southwest, and you're seeing activity pick up around here. This other system that's going to be our main weather maker as we get into the end of next week, that's moving on closer to the Pacific Northwest, and you can see that reflected by this enhanced area of precipitation up here. Some light snow, mixed precipitation with a little clipper up in the northeast, and then this low is long gone by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. This is pulling out, and just a little bit of a chance of light shower activity along the Outer Banks. Now, as far as your temperatures go, looking at tomorrow's highs up into the 60s and 70s over a good portion of the country. Look at this. Mild, mild, mild. Spring is here. The only place you can really find chillier weather is up in the essentially northwestern quadrant of the country and in the very tip of Maine where it's below freezing. And then on Tuesday, same sort of story, big area of the country in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even some 80s showing up down here in Texas and the desert Southwest. So only the cool spots up here in Maine. So that's your weather blitz. And now you know what to expect as you walk out the door Monday, Tuesday, and we're going to turn our focus now to talk predominantly for the rest of the show about the upcoming storm threat and what we know about that. So if you want to stick around for that, please do. Stay subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on when we launch these videos. We'll go ahead and you'll get a notification on those. Like the video, comment. If you have a question, let me know. But let's go ahead and turn our attention now to the big storm system that's on tap for late next week. So we'll turn our attention now to the big topic that is headlining the weather world. Mayhem, world-ending chaos ensues as a historic storm barrels down on the United States next week. So we're going to see how much of that is true and how much of that is not true and how much of that we just don't know yet. So we're going to start here with the hazards map. The CPC puts this out and outlines the risk of hazardous weather in the week 2 time frame, essentially, where we're working in on week 1, where this storm system is going to take place. It's already within the week, but this map does a good job of kind of outlining that. Isn't it neat, by the way, where you can go to the internet here and you get all these different resources. You have to know where to get them and you have to know what they mean, but thankfully Cold Rain's here to kind of guide you through all of that. But in any event, we're looking at our hazards map here, and we see right out of the gate, we see this big area of heavy snow that is possible next Friday into Saturday, probably Saturday into Sunday as well as this pulls out. But large area of wind-driven heavy snow here. You've got a large area as well of high winds. So we're going to see high winds with this system. It's going to be incredibly strong. As a matter of fact, the barometric pressure that it looks like it's going to get down into the 970s, which is the equivalent of a Category 2 hurricane. Now, we're not going to see sustained winds in the hundreds, but we are going to see some wind gusts. And with these mid-latitude cyclones, they're not warm core systems like hurricanes. They're cold core, meaning they have different dynamics associated with them. You've got a cold conveyor belt, a warm conveyor belt. On the cold side, you get mixed precipitation and snow. Warm side, you get rain and thunderstorms, and generally high winds if it's a really strong system like this one's going to be. So you've got a large area of the country here outlined in high winds, and then you've got this heavy rain threat that didn't really exist with the last one. Look at this. So much of the Tennessee Valley up into the Ohio Valley, eastern seaboard, we're looking at a heavy rain threat because a secondary area of low pressure is going to develop as this cold front kind of swings east later into the weekend. You're going to see that secondary area of low pressure enhance the rainfall totals. And then you've got, of course, hazards out here on the west coast where you've got a lot of just precipitation moving in through the active jet that we've got out here. Higher elevation is going to see a lot of snow out here. So that's your hazards map. And that does a good job of kind of outlining the general threat. It doesn't really, it tells us a little bit about the timing, but we're going to refine that as we go through the week in terms of how this storm system exactly evolves. Now our next map that we want to look at is the Storm Prediction Center. We're going to look at our day 6 severe weather probabilities, and it's significant, just like it was with the last one where they put this out well in advance of the storm to keep you up to date on what's going on. There's a high probability that we're going to see severe weather. These probabilities are going to go up as we go through the week because it's just almost a given with the dynamics in place with this system that there's going to be a large area that is at risk for severe weather. My first guess is anywhere from really where they've drawn this all the way down to the Gulf Coast over to portions of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Probably anywhere in this area is at risk for severe weather. The type of severe weather is going to depend on exactly how much instability that there is in place as this cold front kind of sweeps through. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, but anywhere in this area needs to be on the lookout next week as we get through the week. Now we'll probably see this expand to the east as we go out in time. Taking a look at day 7, they've got the risk over Mississippi, much of Alabama, up into Tennessee and Georgia. So already seeing 6 and 7 days out, the high potential of severe weather. It's only listed at 15% now, but we know that some areas in this zone are going to experience some wind at least. So let's keep our eyes on that, but we'll watch that as we go through the week. Now, what's causing all of this? I will tell you what's causing all of this. And we're going to start here with a map that I've shown you the last couple of times that we've done these videos. This is the European ensemble mean. Now, the ensemble mean is essentially an average of 51 members, each run with slightly different initial conditions to give you an idea. Is there a lot of variation in the forecast, or, can we have some confidence, especially as we go out in time? And so what we're seeing here is next Friday evening at 8 o'clock, there is an 80% chance, this is what this graph is telling us, there's an 80% chance of this area here where I'm drawing this pink, this is actually, according to the model, an 80 to 100% chance in this area there's going to be a strong storm system less than 990 millibars, and that's strong. And some models suggest that it will be less than 980 millibars, and that's probably going to end up being correct. So this is what this model is telling us. We have high confidence. The GFS ensemble mean is very similar to this, so we have high confidence we're going to see a strong storm. Now, what about the pressure itself? Greens are 980 to 990 millibars. Grays are 990 to 1,000 millibars, but look at all these blues. If you look down here at the scale, look at this, 970 to 980 millibars. Again, that's category 2 hurricane status. If this were a category 2 hurricane, this would be sitting off the coast with that kind of a pressure. We'd be looking at high winds working into the eastern seaboard, of course, if it's sitting off here. So, but look, this is an amazing amount of members showing a strong system. So that's what we're looking at when we see this, is just plotting out all the members. And so very strong system is going to exist here. We have high confidence in that. So that tells us a couple of things right off the bat. There's a big risk for severe weather. There is a big risk for snow on the cold side if the air is cold enough, and it will be. So it also tells us that there's going to be a huge gradient wind threat. So even if you're not getting snow, you're not getting thunderstorms, the pressure gradient is going to be so strong because the pressure of the system is going to be so low that you're going to see background winds. And we'll take a look at what we could potentially see and where in just a minute. But this is an incredibly strong system. Confidence is growing that it's going to be strong. Now, if you're looking at a severe weather outbreak, we talked about this before, so you should be familiar with it if you've watched this video. You need, if you watch the channel before, you need strong influx of moisture out ahead of the system. This is our dew point map. So what this is showing us is moisture coming in from a moisture source like the Gulf of Cold Rain, for example. So we're seeing all of this moisture come out ahead of the system. You can kind of see the circulation defined here. See that little comma shape almost, or whatever this little pinwheel is here. This is where the center of circulation is, back over Kansas. It's pulling up moisture counterclockwise around low pressure systems. So you're seeing this big counterclockwise flow. But the dew points are not really all that impressive up here in Missouri and Illinois and Indiana. You get a little bit more impressive dew points down here in Arkansas toward the coast. These 65 dew points below 60, like in the 50s and 40s, aren't quite as, the air is not quite as buoyant, so it's not going to tend to rise as quickly as it would be if you had higher dew points. Now, wind can offset that. When we look at severe weather threats, we're looking at thermodynamics, which is instability, what's the propensity of the air to want to rise, and then that's instability. And then kinematics, which is wind dynamics. Does the wind change with height? How does it change with height? Does it change direction with height? All of that stuff matters a great deal when it comes to severe weather outbreaks. There's going to be a tremendous amount of wind energy with this storm, changing of direction with height, changing of speed with height, and so you're going to see a tremendous amount of kinematics. The question mark is the instability. This system looks like it's going to possess greater instability than the last one. The last one produced tornadoes and wind damage. And so we're going to really keep our eye on this to see if these dew points can creep in. If you put this into motion here, this is next Friday at 8 p.m., put this into motion, you don't really see a massive surge of those dew points. They never really get, the 60 line is somewhere in southern Missouri over into, never really gets much above Tennessee into Kentucky. And then it sweeps on off as the system pulls off and the cold front comes through. So that said, there's a lot of wind energy that could offset it. So we're going to see, the next thing we're looking at is CAPE, convective available potential energy. This is the potential energy. It needs to be acted upon, but the potential is there for some instability. And this is much more than we saw with the last system. Even with lower dew points, you can still offset that by cooling of the air with height and the proximity to the storm and all of that stuff. So you could have some other influences here, but in any event, you're seeing CAPE values impressively so all the way up into Minnesota. Anything over 1,000 that you see here, and you're seeing quite a lot of those in the greens. Really, when you get down here into Arkansas, you're seeing a lot of CAPE down here. The question is, will there be dynamics to really kick this off? And there probably will be enough. So we'll see. We'll take a look at this as we go forward. This is going to change, but we're already seeing signs of impressive CAPE, impressive wind shear, and that has moved the Storm Prediction Center to really take a look at this, take this seriously, and issue those 15% probability. So we're seeing that as we put this on into motion Friday night, Saturday into Sunday. That all moves off and works off to the east. We'll take a look at a bigger picture here in a minute too, but just wanted to show you that because it's kind of close up. Wind energy is important. So the last storm system had a big 850 millibar jet. That's winds 5,000 feet off the ground. These browns are winds of 50 knots. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 55 miles per hour, getting close to 60. You're seeing 60 to 70 knots in this jet over much of the mid-south here and the Central Plains. So if we put this into motion, the storm system's right here in looks like in Kansas. And so look at this jet. This jet just explodes over the next couple of frames. So over the night, Friday night into Saturday, we're looking at a 60, 70, approaching 80 knot jet. So that's a lot of wind energy at 5,000 feet. That's low. Thunderstorms can tap that, bring it to the ground. If we go up a little bit and look at our 700 millibar, that's about 10,000 feet off the ground, you're already seeing a stronger jet here at Friday evening. And look at this, put this into motion. You're starting to get into some of these red colors. That's 90, close to 100 knots. And so the wind is increasing with height, which is called wind shear. That's what you want to see if you're forecasting a severe weather outbreak. We don't want to see that, but if you're forecasting it, that's what you're looking for, I should say. That's probably a better way to say it. That really strengthens. Look at this 110, close to 120 knot jet over Arkansas, pushing into southern Illinois as we get on into Saturday and Sunday. And that all moves out as the storm system moves up toward the Great Lakes. And then the last stop here is your 500 millibar jet. So the color scale is a little bit different down here. So these whites, instead of 60 or 70 knots, we're looking at 115 knots. You're looking at 125 to 135 knots. So that's probably somewhere in the order of, I'm not doing the calculation right in my head, but it's somewhere in the order of 150 miles per hour. So you're looking at a massive 500 millibar. That's 18,000 feet up jet. So we go from, 70 to 80 miles per hour up to 90 to 100 miles per hour up to 150 miles per hour as we go. So increasing wind with height, very important for thunderstorm development and maintenance from a kinematic standpoint. That jet strengthens a little bit, moves on off as the storm system moves, and there you go. So we've got plenty of wind dynamics. The question mark is how much of that moisture can be pulled up, and there's a little fly in the ointment there, and we'll take a look at it. So this is what it all looks like when it comes down to the map that you've probably seen a lot over time. The surface low along with the precipitation. So we've got this is a European model now showing a 975 millibar low. The GFS gets this down to close to 970. It's had some runs in the 960s. That's unbelievable. But look at this. So it's going to take this low and move it on off, and it's already developing a line of thunderstorms. This is Friday evening. This is developing out where that jet, we just saw where that jet was. That's all kind of maximized here. Tons of wind energy in the atmosphere. We'll put this along. We get on into overnight Saturday and to 2 a.m. and to 5 a.m., 8 a.m. So this is all pushing off. This rapidly moves through. So you're going to see kind of an overnight threat with this as well. We're going to have to pay attention to the timing of this. This could change a little bit, but this line is going to move through. This system's going to shoot on up to the Great Lakes, dragging in cold air behind it. These tightly packed isobars, you're going to see a big wind event in these areas once again that saw this from the last time. So on the cold side, you're going to see blizzard conditions. On the warm side, you're going to see heavy rain and thunderstorms and wind all throughout much of the central and eastern portions of the country as this storm system wraps up and this line races through. It's going to be a lot of energy to tap and bring down to the ground. So we're going to get into more of this as the week rolls along, but that's what this looks like. So eventually, as we go on into we're Saturday here, so Saturday at 8 a.m. We're going to move this along. So we get into Sunday. That line strengthens, moves through North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, up the East Coast, Virginia, up into New England. And so severe weather could exist all the way up and down the coast. And as I said, a secondary area of low pressure could develop here and enhance the rainfall rates and bring a flooding threat into portions of the Ohio Valley and East Coast. Now, that is your surface map. Now, if we take a look at the little fly in the ointment that we talked about, you see this out here at 84 hours. This is 8 p.m. Thursday, okay? This is Thursday, March the 13th. So look at this right here. little area of precipitation. And I have pulled up a sounding for us. I thought I had my pen and I didn't. Look at this. So right here over Texas, you got this little tiny area of precipitation. That is associated with an upper level piece of energy. Now, if we roll this out, look what happens. That moves on off in the southern branch. It looks harmless. It's just a little bit of light shower and thunderstorm activity. And here's our main low starting to get together as we get on into Friday evening. Look at that. Okay. Now watch this. Let's erase that and go here. See, this is upper level. This is 700 millibars. It's a little low here. It said, you'll see it represented if I showed this at 500 millibars. This is just energy or spin in the atmosphere. Look at these wind barbs. You see these little wind barbs? They tell you what direction the wind is coming from and how strong it is. And so we're up here at about 10,000 feet. And as that little system right here moves off in this direction, moves off, you see here it is here, moves off to the east like this. Look at these wind barbs. These wind barbs are coming in from generally from the north behind it, right? The northwest. And so we'll pull that on off a little bit more. And then eventually they turn around from the south. But while this system is here, these wind barbs along this area here up in Texas, up into Kansas, into Nebraska, the wind barbs are out of the north. So that means, what that means to you is that the wind is coming this way, right? Or this way. Where do we need moisture from? From this way. That's not happening. This is coming through and it's acting like a big block to keep moisture from coming out of the Gulf. That eventually gets out. The strong cold front associated with that low pressure moves in and you see those winds turn. So look at this as we move on out toward Friday. Now you're starting to see that southwesterly component to those winds. That's turning, they're starting to turn here out of the southwest. You see all these little wind barbs here, they're turning out of the southwest. And if we roll this on forward, it even becomes much more vigorously, and now you're seeing the flow around this out of the southwest and south-southwest. And so you're starting to get some of that moisture return, and that's what you want to see if you're looking for severe weather. You want to see moisture coming up out of the Gulf. Because that system has blocked some of that moisture transport, you're seeing that reflected in the lower dew points getting pulled up. Had that system not been in place, we see a broad southwesterly or southerly flow that would allow much more rich air to get pulled in, and we would be looking at potentially a historic severe weather event. We may still be looking at a high-end severe weather event. It's just too early to assess the degree of it yet, but we're going to keep an eye on it because that could save us and you know, from having a massive event. So there you have it. The last piece of this is just your overall general wind threat. Looking at the wind starting here Friday, basically Friday morning, gusts into the 60s potentially in New Mexico and Texas, pulling this on forward a little bit. Those gusts get on into Oklahoma, northern Texas. You're seeing wind break out here in Kansas and Colorado, Wyoming. Kansas is here, you're seeing it here, and then in the panhandle of Nebraska. And then just keep rolling it forward. Missouri, you're seeing high winds, 50s, 60s, and that spreads on into Illinois, and you've South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, just high winds everywhere. Even these greens, we're looking at winds in the 40s. So these are gusts, by the way, not sustained winds, they're just gusts. And you can see how that pulls up with that low as it strengthens. And then that secondary little system here spawns some severe weather. We could have a secondary wind max work through the Tennessee Valley, the southeast, and on in up the east coast into the eastern seaboard. So even some 50s potentially. So we'll probably see wind advisories, high wind warnings, blizzard warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado watches. We're going to see all of the above as we get into later next week. So I wanted to do a quick recap because that's what we've seen change, and it's important when you look at these systems kind of unfold when they're coming up. You want to look at the trends, and so the trends have been to increase the moisture transport out of the Gulf a little bit, which is a dangerous signal in terms of creating a severe weather threat. So we're going to watch that over the course of the next couple of days and see if those trends reverse or continue. and we'll keep you posted. I'll do a cold rains weather world tomorrow. It'll be a little bit of a longer episode where we'll dive into this again, but we'll also take a look a little bit more at maybe the longer range pattern. We'll have a couple of fun segments. I've got a new sponsor on tap, so we're not going to you don't want to miss that. And certainly we'll have our trivia question and have some other things too. So anyway, subscribe to the channel if you're not. Make sure that you have those notifications turned on so you'll see when I put out a new video. And we're going to have a busy week. Another active pattern is on tap, setting up in place, and we're going to see another storm system roll in behind this one. So a lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks. All right, that's it for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a good start to your work week, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.